Hi, welcome to day 9 of our 14-day yoga challenge. We're coming towards the end now, so we're doing really well. Hi, my name's Julie and I'm a yoga teacher here at Totally Holistic Health. And today we are going to be looking at back bends. Now back bends can cause people a little bit of stress, well not stress, it can cause people to become a little bit worried. The main thing with back bends is what we're trying to do is sort of open up the chest. It really helps open up your centre of your heart, opens up the lungs, opens up the ribs. So the main thing with any back bend is we're trying to protect the lower back. So obviously we've done some core work to help with that as well. And the main thing with back bends is you're relaxing into it. So if you find that you're tensing up, particularly the lower back, as you're doing these poses, just try to really use that breath to release yourself into it, because the more tension you put in that lower back, the more problems you're going to have, or causing yourself more problems. So relaxation, use that breath if you can, just to help sort of regulate the tension in the muscles. And obviously if there's anything that feels really uncomfortable, obviously have different degrees of back bend, so don't force yourself into doing something you really aren't happy doing. But obviously, if it really hurts, obviously I probably would avoid this particular day if you've got problems with your back, with your lower back, or with your back in general. But fingers crossed, if you do it safely, you should be okay. Obviously there's different degrees of back bend that we can actually do. So as always, let's just start our practice in a nice upright position. Again, the legs can be out in front if you want them to be, or you can have them nicely crossed. So draw ourselves nice and tall. So again, if you can, engage that core muscle just to draw it back towards the spine, just drop the shoulders down the back. Just draw yourself nice and tall, and again, if you can, imagine you've got that lovely thread just pulling you nice and tall. Just drop the chin down a little bit, not all the way towards the chest, but just a little bit. So it's nice and parallel with the floor, and just close those eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Just going to take a few moments, as we always do at the start of a practice, just to set an intention. Sometimes it's nice to actually say, okay, this time is my time. I'm on the mat, so just try to leave any worries you've got at the door and just focus on yourself for the next few moments. So just allow that breath, just to allow it to come into that natural breath. We don't tend to try to force the breath, we just allow it to come in and out. It's no own natural accord, and your breath does know what it needs to do, so we're not going to try to force it to change. We're just breathing into the belly and breathing into top half of the body, and then releasing from the top half all the way down towards the spine. Breathing in all the way into the belly first, into the shoulders, slowly relaxing that breath down, so you'll probably find that you're breathing out from the chest and then the belly. So it's breathing into the belly first, feel it expand like a balloon. Feel that energy drawing up as you're breathing into the upper lungs, and then breathing out through the nose. Again, if you can, just imagine the air's coming out of the upper chest first and all the way down to the belly. Breathing into the belly, all the way up into the lungs. Breathing out, so it's coming from the top all the way down to the bottom. It takes a bit of practice to breathe properly in yoga, because a lot of people tend to breathe into the chest first, then to the belly, but we're actually breathing into the belly first. Feel that breath, filling the lower ribs, the upper ribs, also into the shoulders, and then as you're breathing out, just to let those shoulders drop down, leave the breath coming out of the lungs into the belly. Take a little bit of practice, but the more you get used to breathing into the belly first, the more relaxed you'll find that the muscles will become. So again, this might be something you want to practice in your own time. Just take a little bit of work trying to work out where you're breathing in first. Maybe one last full deep breath in first, and then out. Fantastic. Okay, so So we're going to start on all fours. Again, a really good way of releasing the back before we come into any back bends is doing things like a cat-cow, which we don't tend to do most of our sessions because it's such a good exercise to try. So coming onto our hands and knees, and again, if you need padding underneath those knees, obviously you can fold your mat up, or we can use blankets underneath those knees. Make sure those fingertips are nicely spread. We're going to just push away from the floor, so really push down with those palms, straighten those arms so you're not sinking into the shoulders. Really use that strength that we're building up into those arms to keep that nice engagement between the floor and the shoulders, nice flat back. And again, you might want to engage the core a little bit here. Make sure the knees are underneath your hips. So we're going to drop the belly down towards the floor, bring the head up as we're breathing in. And as you breathe out, just drop the head down between your arms. Now you might want to just do a few breaths like this in your own time, because you might find that as you've started to do this practice, your breath may be a bit faster or slower than mine. So just do a few of these, maybe dropping the belly down, bring the head up as you're breathing in, arching away from the floor, breathing out, pushing away from that floor. So again, just do about 4 or 5 of these just to get that spine nice and mobile. Just taking your time. Let's do one last full deep breath in. No rushing, we'll meet you at the other side. Breathing out. So just allowing yourself just to come into a nice flat back. So we're going to come into a little bit of a downward dog first. So just curl the toes under, and we're going to push away from the floor with the hands. Bring the knees off the floor, just drop the head down between those arms. Again, really good to release the head. If you need to just rock the head from side to side, pedaling out with those feet, so like one heel then the other. Just to get a little stretch on the back of those legs. Again, just taking your time. The main thing is not trying to rush this, we're trying to really feel those areas that need a little bit of an extra stretch sometimes, or that feels a little bit uncomfortable, or sometimes your body just knows what it needs to do. So sometimes, you know, it's not necessarily the precision, it's just trying to maybe move your body in a way that feels really good. Okay, so let's slowly bring those knees back onto the floor. Just flatten those feet so the tops of the feet are onto the floor. We're going to come into a little bit of a lunge. So we're going to bring your right foot through between your hands. So keep that back knee down on the floor. Okay, so as always for safety, make sure that knee comes directly above the ankle. If you find your knee is coming over, you need to bring it back or move that front foot a little bit further forward. Okay, so we're going to slowly push down with that front foot. Let's bring the hands off the floor. Now if you want to, you can just ease that front foot forward a little bit more if you want to just come into a slightly stronger stretch on that left hip flexor, or equally you can stay exactly where you are. It doesn't really matter. Again, this is dependent on you. This is your body, your practice. So we're going to come into a nice gentle back bend to start off with. So make sure that your back knee and your front foot are about hip width apart. It just makes it easier to stay balanced because we're not looking forward, we're going to look up towards the ceiling. So if you have issues with your back, you might want to just bring your hands just onto that lower back. So your hands are just resting onto the top of your bottom. Just bring those shoulder blades together. It's also good if you've got issues with your shoulders as well, actually. So what we're going to do is slowly just bring those elbows together. Just gently tuck your bottom underneath. Just relax everything. Just see if you can look up towards the ceiling. Keeping that breath nice and gentle. So just watch the neck. We're not going to put the neck back too much. We're just looking at a point on the ceiling. Just to get a little bit of a back bend in there. Nothing too strong. Just gently now bring those hands back onto the floor, either side of that front foot. And we're going to just bring both those knees back together. Again, just maybe move those hips from side to side just to get that back gently easing. So again, see how that feels. Obviously just adjust how much you come into that back bend depending on how that feels for you. Okay, so we're going to do the same on the left side. So just taking a few moments, we're going to bring that left foot through between your hands. Okay, make sure the back knee and your front foot are about hip width apart. And again, this knee is directly above your ankle. So I'm going to push down with that front foot. Bring the hands off the floor, and again, if you need to just bring that back leg back a little bit to get more of a stretch there, that's absolutely fine. See, everybody's different. So again, coming to that back bend, let's bring the hands just onto that lower back, just to protect that area there. Just bring the shoulder blades together, and slowly let's just open up that chest. Gently looking up towards the ceiling. So we're trying to look up just about sort of 1 o'clock rather than up to 12, so 1 to 2, just so we don't put too much pressure, because if you bring the neck back too much, you're going to compress the spine too much. So just take it easy. Just relax the lower back. And then slowly, let's bring those hands off the lower back, bring them back onto the floor. I'm going to bring both those knees back together, just taking your time. Hands underneath the shoulders again, just maybe moving those hips from side to side, just to ease that lower back. So basically when you do a back bend, you need to do a counter pose, which is basically bending the spine in the opposite direction. So because we've gone backwards, we're going to go into a nice gentle pose of a child. So if you bring your feet together, bring the knees nice and wide, just drop your bottom towards the floor. So it's a very gentle back bend, but we're trying to stretch that lower back a little bit. So it's quite nice just to walk the hands forward, just drop the head down. Just take a few moments here. So if that does feel a little bit too strong, obviously the arms can be bent, or you can bring them by your side. So just do what feels right for your body. Very gently now, we're going to just slide ourselves down onto our bellies. So just walk the arms forward, bring the legs onto the floor, nice and straight. Now with this particular pose, the main thing is the legs. When you're doing a back bend, you need to make sure that your legs are really, really strong, because the legs are the things that will really help you lift yourself up. So we're trying to make sure the feet are nice and flat on the floor. Some yoga practices say that the legs should be really close together. Obviously if that feels okay for your back, that's fine. Sometimes it's nice to bring the legs a little bit wider. Obviously everything is different, you might want to bring them about hip width apart, so just be guided by what feels right for you and your back. For me, I'm probably going to bring them about hip width apart, only because I know that that feels okay for me. But if you have got issues with your spine, just be really careful of how this feels. So back bends can be sort of quite strong, or they can be quite gentle. So I'm going to start off with a gentle option first of all. So let's bring your elbows just nice and level with your chest, with your forearms coming forward, nice and wide as your mat. Let's bring your head down onto the floor. So the main thing with any back bend is, as I said, use the legs. So we're going to have the tops of the feet flat on the floor. We're going to push those tops of the feet into the floor. And what you'll find is your knees will come off the floor a little bit if you're pushing them in that hard, which is exactly what we're looking for. Make sure you push your pubic bone into the floor. Really nice and strong with the legs. And then very gently, we're going to use those arms, nice and wide. Slowly bring the head off the floor. So again, if you can, just bring the shoulder blades together a little bit more. So you might want to come a little down to here, or you might be able to go a little bit higher. Whatever feels good for you. So just really push those feet into the floor, push the pubic bone down. Try to relax your bum cheeks as much as you can, because again, we don't want to put too much strain on that lower back. It's the legs that do the work. Let's slowly let ourselves back down. Just taking a couple of breaths here, maybe just rocking your pelvis from side to side, just to alleviate any tension on that back. Again, if you need to take a pose of a child in between times, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to try that again. Okay, so again, make sure the tops of your feet come into the floor. If you need to adjust the legs a bit wider or a bit narrower, feel free to do so. push the feet into the floor, knees come off the floor, pubic bone down. So again, slowly, see if we can bring the head and shoulders off the floor. Now you might find you can bring the arms a little bit closer in. The idea is trying to bring the shoulder blades in. So if you bring the hands under the chest, you're going to come a little bit higher, which may feel okay for you. If you have issues with your spine, I would probably keep my elbows a little bit further towards the short side of your mat. And you have an option if you want to of bringing your elbows off the floor. So again, just trying a few different options. The main thing is your chest is trying to come forward. So we're trying to pull that mat towards us just so we can reach forward with the head and the shoulders. So again, elbows can be down, elbows can be up, arms can come in. So all different sort of sensations of back bend, so just do what feels right for you. Let's slowly allow ourselves to come back down. And this time we are going to come into a pose of a child, so we're going to bring the hands over with your chest. Slowly push back, just drop your bottom down towards those feet. Getting that really nice stretch in the shoulders and that lower back. What you also can do if you want to is walk both hands over to the right side of your mat, so you've got a nice stretch just on the left side of your waist. And then walking the hands over to the left side. Just get a nice stretch on the right side of the waist. Again, if that feels okay, you don't need to do these things. Slowly bring those hands forward again. I'm going to slowly slide back onto our bellies again. Okay, so just coming down. Let's bring your arms by your side with the palms facing down. Let's bring the head onto the floor. So we're going to go a little bit stronger here. So we're going to come into a locust or a half locust first of all. So again, just make sure the tops of your feet are on the floor. So you can use your hands by your side if you want to with this one. So again, really push the pubic bone into the floor. So we're just pushing down into the mat. Push down with those hands with the palms facing down either side of you, and slowly we're going to use those feet, pushing them into the floor, bring the head and shoulders off the floor. So it's a little bit what we've just done, but we're actually not using our arms. We can push down with those arms, we're just going to bring the head and shoulders off the floor. If that feels okay here, it feels safe with your back, you can interlock the hands behind the back, just drawing those fingertips down towards your bottom. Imagine someone's pulling those arms away from you. Slowly releasing back down, just release those hands. Just rest our head onto the forearms, and again it's quite nice just to rock the whole of your body, just backwards and forwards, side to side, to release that back. And if you do want to come into a pose of a child again, it's absolutely fine. So let's gently come onto our backs. So just very slowly coming over. Okay, so we're going to come into a bridge pose now, which again it's another back bend, but it's a really nice one to do. And again, this one tends to use the core a little bit. You can use the glutes a little bit more on this one. But again, the main thing is all the work is being done on the bottom half of the body. We're trying to relax the top half. So just drop the chin a little bit closer to the chest as the spine is nice and long. Bring the big toes together so you've got a little gap just between your heels, and what we're trying to do is brace those knees together just to help protect the knees a little bit. Let's bring the hands by your side, so if you can just rock a little bit one side and the other, just if we can tuck those shoulder blades underneath you a little bit, so this allows the chest to be nice and open. So what to do with tilting the spine, this one, so you've got a little gap underneath your back, I would hope. So what we're going to do is push that little gap into the floor so your pelvis just tilts up towards the ceiling, and we're going to push down with your feet. See if you can slowly raise your bottom up. So again, use those hands at your side if you need to, just to get a nice stretch here. So we've got a lovely stretch here on the whole of the front body. So I know we did this one with core muscles, so again we're stretching those psoas muscles, helps protect that lower back. And slowly allow ourselves to come back down. So if you can, really use the belly muscles, use that spine to see if we can get one vertebrae down at a time. Just taking the time. And just take a couple of moments. Once you're on the floor, take a couple of breaths. And then slowly come back up again. So again, just tilt that pelvis, push the lower back into the floor. See if we can push down with your feet. Slowly raise your bottom off the floor. So you can go a little bit higher. Use those hands to push you a little bit higher if that will go. Don't worry too much if it feels really uncomfortable. But again, we're not putting too much strain on that lower back because it's a nice straight line. It's just a gentle, more of a back bend for the thoracic area, which is the bits between your shoulder blades. And then slowly allow ourselves to come back down. Nice and gently. Take a couple of breaths here again. It's quite nice once you're actually on the floor just to tilt the pelvis a little bit one way than the other without pushing down with the feet. Just enjoying that sensation of just pushing the lung back into the floor and then releasing. So again, it's just really nice to mobilise those hips a little bit as well. And then once more. Push that lower back into the floor. See if we can raise the bottom up. So again, see if you can go any higher this time. And again, it's nice just again rocking those shoulder blades underneath your back. And if you want to, let's see if we can interlock the hands underneath the body. So just pulling those fingertips down towards those feet, pushing the bottom up towards the ceiling. If you do manage to do this, again, just enjoying that sensation. Keep the knees together. Keep the breath nice and gentle. Relax the whole of your body. Slowly, let's remove those hands if you decided with that option. Let's slowly bring ourselves back down onto the floor. And we'll just draw those knees in towards your chest. And again, the knees can be wide, the knees can be narrow. Just again, imagine that you're just massaging that lower back. Just slowly roll those knees around. One way and then the other. And then let's slowly just allow those knees just to be placed or just coming just more above the hips or the belly. Just bring the hands so that they are facing towards those toes. We're going to very slowly push those knees away. And what you're trying to do here is just almost feel that little spine lengthen. And then draw those knees in towards your chest. Again, it's a little bit like lengthening that spine, just enjoying stretching everything out. So just push those knees away. As far as I'm going with your hands onto those knees. So you should find that your sacral area, which is your sort of the very bony bit at the base of your spine, should be just resting on the floor nice. And as you draw the knees in, you're almost like rolling that sacral area upwards. Draw the knees in. So I'm going to do that one more time. So just slowly push those knees away. Just feel that spine lengthening. Drawing those knees back in. Let's give our knees a nice big hug. So let's just slowly allow ourselves just to come and lengthen onto the floor. Just push those feet away. Bring the arms above your head, just give yourself a nice full body stretch. So it's nice to push those heels away to start off with. And then we point those toes just to stretch the front of your body. Let's relax those feet. Let's allow them just to come and just release outwards. Just bring the arms by your side. Just going to take a few moments in Shavasana. So again, it's nice just to allow those arms to rest by your side. Allow that breath just to slowly move in and out. Just trying to keep your awareness of your body. Scanning that body, just noticing only areas that feel a little bit uncomfortable. If your lower back does start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, you have the option of bending the knees if you want to. It just protects that lower back a little bit more. Or again, legs can be wherever you want them to be. So just breathing in, breathing out, just let everything go. This is a really good time to practice that breath into the belly. Expanding the belly as you're breathing in, then the lungs. As you're breathing out, releasing the lungs first, and then drawing the belly back towards the spine. Very slowly, let's draw those knees back in towards your chest. Give them a nice big hug, just taking your time. And then as we come up to a seated position, let's just slowly roll onto one side first. Let's just take a few moments just to allow ourselves to stay in that nice sideways laying down. Gently coming up to that seated position, just taking your time, just gently ease yourself back up. Obviously, if you feel you need to stay in Shavasana for a little bit longer, which is laying on your back, that's absolutely fine. Just allow yourself to come to that nice upright position, so seated with the legs crossed or legs out in front. Just take a few moments just to enjoy those sensations of stretching out the chest, the back. Also those feelings of the breath relaxing the muscles, relaxing the body. Just bring your hands into your heart centre, lowering the head down towards those fingertips. Just give yourself that thanks for taking your time out with this practice, this challenge. You're doing really well, and as always, thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste. I hope you've enjoyed that. Obviously, if you have issues with the back or you notice any twinges, obviously just take it easy, which obviously I'm hoping you have done. But I will see you on day 10. I've got something exciting for you tomorrow. Take care then. Bye bye.